And those qualities are really hard to access if you are harshly critical of yourself, if you're always grinding, if you feel like you always need to get there. Once I get there, once I do the thing, then I'll be happy. Then I get to have the relationship. Then I'll take a break. But that goalpost just keeps moving.
Well, hello, Travis. He's here. Oh, my friend. Thank you for being here, because I know right now I'm going to take a moment. I'm going to read your bio. But this conversation that we are going to have right now today is so important. This is something that so many of us have dealt with, and so many of us are, confused about, and lots of questions, lots of wondering. And I know that you're going to give us some clarity today, and you're going to let us know exactly what you do. But before we go into that, I'm going to just take a moment. I'm going to read your bio. Is that cool?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here we go. Okay, just give me a second here. Today, I'm joined by Travis Ambrose, a relationship coach who helps individuals and couples heal attachment patterns, build deeper connection, and create lasting love. Travis blends attachment theory, nervous system awareness, and practical tools to help people understand their emotional patterns and show up in healthier, more grounded ways. With years of experience guiding anxious and avoiding partners toward clarity and emotional safety, his work empowers people to build relationships rooted in trust, presence, and growth. I am so excited to have Travis today. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Travis, for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to see what we get into.
Oh, we're going to get into this. Travis, so seriously, I know this is the work that you're doing. It is such a hot topic. Can you also, I know I just read a bio, but can you also explain to the listeners right now that are just getting to know you and just listening to this right now, the work that you actually do, how you help people?
Yeah, so as a relationship coach, I always say what I am fundamentally is a relationship to self coach. And my commitment, first and foremost, is always to the individual before the relationship, actually, which is, I think, a little counterintuitive when you think somebody who's helping with relationships. But in order to optimize the chances of a relationship really succeeding and thriving, and to maximize that connection, it's critical that each person has a really rock solid, unwavering connection with themselves, rooted in self-love and self-trust. And so I'm really focused on helping people cultivate a more compassionate, curious, and accepting relationship with their inner world, because it's those exact skills that then directly translate into the relationship. If somebody's not loving, accepting, and curious of themselves, they're not going to be that with their partner. And those are, a few of the most fundamental qualities that you need in a really loving, safe relationship.
Oh, that is so important. It really does. It starts with ourselves first, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Everything else, like when you get your relationship with yourself right, the right outcomes just fall into place as a result of that. It may be the relationship you're in. Maybe it's a relationship down the line. The right jobs, the right hobbies, the right friends, the community, all that stuff falls into place when you really address any asynchronicities or misalignments in your value system and how you're showing up for yourself.
Wow. Well, Charles, then take me back a little bit, because this is fascinating, this work that you're doing. How did you actually grow up? Did you grow up with a mom and a dad? Did you have siblings? What was it like for you when you were growing up?
I didn't expect we to go back that far.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I am an only child to a single mom.
Okay.
And because of that, right now, I don't work exclusively with men, but men's work is really near and dear to my heart because I have my own father wounds, and
Yes.
being a mama's boy, um, had a pretty tumultuous upbringing that was characterized by a lot of loneliness, a lot of fear of abandonment, or just always feeling like I'm right on the edge
Okay.
of abandonment. My mom really struggled with mental health issues growing up, like really clinical long-term depression. Turns out, and she's discovered after a couple decades um, of being on prescriptions that she's SSRI resistant. So it's like that created a lot of challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so emotionally, she wasn't really present in a lot of ways. She did her best with the tools that she had, and she was so loving in so many ways, but she also wasn't there in some really, it wasn't there emotionally in those really formative, developmental years. Um, hmm.
Was your father in the picture at all?
No. So it came down to like, there's a couple different people that might be my dad.
Okay.
And, my mom's never shied away from that,
Okay.
but, she's always been very willing to support that pursuit if that was something that I wanted to find out. But,
Got it.
yeah, he's just never been in the picture. And my mom took this on. We have a really small family too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But because of that depression, she struggled with suicidality
Okay.
for really early years, and that's kind of one of my deepest core wounds of abandonment is
Okay.
this like core memory around waking up middle of the night to find my mom in the ambulance, and just it felt like my whole world was falling apart, and I was so confused, and then
Mm-hmm.
was just alone. And it just
Mm-hmm.
felt like I was this close to being orphaned. And my grandma came and stayed with us some time after that. And after my mom got like reestablished, my grandma left. We lived in Georgia at the time, and the rest of my family is on the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
And after she left, and my grandma committed suicide just a few months later.
Oh, that's tough.
And that took good.
How old were you, Travis? How old were you at this time?
I was 7.
You're 7. Okay.
And that took a toll on my whole family.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Mm-hmm.
there are still ripples from that. My mom turned a pretty significant leaf after that experience.
Mm-hmm.
And we moved to the West Coast to be closer with family. And there were a couple good years I remember in there where my mom, it felt pretty close with her, pretty present. Or she was really present with me rather. And then sometime in my, kind of prepubescent, almost hitting puberty,
Okay.
when I was 12 years old, my mom started her descent into alcoholism.
Okay.
And then from like 12 to 17, I was, this only child coming into manhood without a masculine role model, and taking on a lot of responsibility for my mom's well-being as her alcoholism got worse. And a variety of traumatic memories and experiences with her just being completely obliterated, and bad relationship models, a high degree of codependency. And slowly I developed like a rock hard kind of veneer, a shield.
A shield. Yep. A protection shield.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I couldn't manage the volatility of that relationship anymore. It felt so unsafe, so unpredictable, so many broken promises that I just became so angry. And I was about at the point where I was ready to just disown my mom. I was ready to become an adult, move out of the house, and never have anything to do with her. And you're really fortunate that it wasn't too long after that she hit her rock bottom, and she's been sober ever since. So she has, I think, 17 or 18 years of sobriety now.
Mm-hmm.
And our relationship has improved tremendously. And now she is, we have a great relationship. She's this really wise, maternal figure for me in my life. And she's taught me a lot about emotional maturity and resilience and perseverance. Because even though she was a really bad mom in a lot of respects, I love her.
Travis, I do. I tell my mom that too. It's okay. I really appreciate your authenticity and how you're sharing this. And I think it's so valuable because I think so many of us, and I know this is why you do attachment style too, because it's rooted, from childhood sometimes and how we grow up. And I feel the same way. I mean, we have different stories, but I feel like I grew up in a jungle. My mom was not around. It was not good. And it took, through the grace of God, I'm serious. It took years, but now me and my mom today, I love her so much. I said, Mom, you were not there. Like, what the? And she just in kind of a way, not like we're making fun of it, but she's like, wow, God, I need a lot of healing. And, for her own, my mom had her own story, her own growing up, her own trauma. And she didn't get to process that either. So, so I totally understand this because I have a different relationship now. And at one point, I didn't even know what was going to happen with my mom. And I have a different relationship with her now. And it's cool, Travis. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she did the work. She's, we're healthier now. So I really appreciate this. This is very relatable to so many of us.
Yeah. And I wouldn't be the man who I am today without all that. So I've reached a place of profound gratitude. I'm grateful for her sobriety and how service oriented she is now, and how much she's taught me despite her pitfalls, her flaws. Like, we're all flawed individuals and we're all carrying trauma that has been passed down from previous generations, like you said, and not everybody gets the opportunity to awaken to that in this lifetime and heal it. And I think each generation now is becoming more aware, and it's becoming more healing is more ubiquitous.
Mm-hmm.
People are learning about their past and learning how to shed those layers, which is wonderful. I see it so much in the clients I work with and the people who come to our men's group. But that's, that set me up for a lot of relational pain in adulthood,
right?
And my own addiction with cannabis. And in early adulthood, I was able to talk about all this stuff that had happened with almost like this distance, this separation between me and that. And it's like there wasn't this emotional connection to how impactful that was. Like, you would think somebody who's been through all those things would feel the emotional toll of that, but I was dissociated from the emotional impact. And so I didn't process it, and I didn't get into the stuff that I'm into until late 20s, early 30s.
Okay. So you just had pure apathy, nothing was happening there.
Yeah. And that was my shield, right?
The shield. Yep.
It's the shield. And these are our protectors, our subconscious protectors. I talk a lot about this in my content, but it's like these wounds. And for me, my wounds, many of them were centered around my relationship with my mom, and the 7-year-old me who experienced that trauma, and then the 12-year-old, the 14-year-old, and ultimately then there's the 17-year-old me who's this angry, fierce protector who is so sick of it, can't handle the pain anymore. So let's shut that down through coldness, through anger, through indifference and resentment. And these parts stay with us. They stay in these roles. They don't realize that they don't actually need to protect us in that way anymore once we're in adulthood, because we had so many repetitions in childhood while our adolescent minds were developing.
And developing. And that, when we grew up in that type of trauma, our brains are not truly capable of handling so much. It's like all this information. You shut down.
Mm-hmm.
It is a protection mechanism. It will
Mm-hmm.
come out, as you say, this, I know that's why you're doing the work you're doing later, but there is this part of us, it's too much, especially for a young brain. And we're talking, you had, your brain was 7 years old. I mean, that's, you know what I mean? And you're already experiencing major, major trauma. And that is so much for, first of all, for a human just to handle, right? So much, but a brain that's 7 years old when it's in the formative years, when our nervous systems are being attached. That is something really important that we're talking about right now. Because even though this can happen, and sometimes it doesn't even take, right, Travis, like so much trauma. Sometimes this can start playing a part, just based on certain ways that you were raised or certain things that happened to you or relationships. Let me ask you this. This is, okay, something just came up because it's about your work that you do. Your work is rooted in understanding patterns and attachment. Can you share how your own journey shaped the way you now help people heal and build healthy relationships?
So if people who follow me know that I most identify or most associate with the fearful avoidant attachment style. Well,
Okay.
not anymore. I'm like what we call earned secure attachment. But fearful avoidant is kind of the perfect blend of anxious and avoidant tendencies, wanting love and closeness, but then when you have it or when it gets close, okay, you push it away because
Yes.
it doesn't feel safe. And that attachment style often comes from, if we were to take my story, for example,
Okay.
A past or childhood that's mired in much more significant capital T trauma, substance addiction, abuse, physical, sexual, or severe like emotional abuse, having like a borderline parent, really unstable, this unstable attachment figures where sometimes they are like really loving, the same source that provides primary attachment and love also is the source of like really substantial terror, fear, and lack of safety.
Okay.
So how my story influences or impacts the work that I do is then recognizing how my relationships, certain dynamics in my relationships mirror the relationship that I had with my mom growing up.
Okay.
And recognizing that when somebody is really emotional, my tendency is to clam up, close down, and just shut it out. Right? When my nervous system is activated by the emotionality of some conflict, it doesn't even always have to be a conflict.
Okay.
Then my system's response is to just it's to activate the defensive protector that we've identified. And so the work that I do, I derive a lot from like the internal family systems model, parts work, shadow work, inner child work. These are all like key buzzwords that describe the work that I do.
Yes.
And the first step is always building I come back to compassion and curiosity, right? Building a compassionate and curious relationship with these protective parts that maybe cause, damage or work to the detriment of like the well-being of my relationships, but are actually so well-meaning and well-intended because when you trace it back, it's like, it makes a lot of sense that they're so fiercely protective. It makes a lot of sense that they shut down or push people away, or chase people who are emotionally unavailable or not really emotionally present with me. Right? Both dynamics mirrored.
So it's almost also like like it's like they don't even know that they're doing it in a way, right?
Right. And until you start dabbling in the work
Yeah, let's say you
and
haven't
start,
done the work.
yeah.
You'll find yourself in these type of patterns
Hmm.
and wanting those certain to feel a certain way, and not necessarily that's what you really want, but that's what it's like you're used to. It's like that's your default.
Hmm.
Is that what happens? Okay.
Yeah. So, right, our subconscious mind is going to choose what's familiar like 10 times
Mm,
out of 10 because there's
mhm.
at least a semblance of safety and familiarity, which is why people can get stuck in unhealthy or toxic dynamics that are unsafe
Okay.
or dysfunctional, but familiar. And then like the secure,
That's
healthy
so
relationship comes around and it's safe, but it's very unfamiliar. And so, right, there might be a part
ah,
that's on edge, like waiting for the other shoe to drop. When is what I'm used to going to happen? And that space of uncertainty can almost feel more dysregulating than the dysregulating cycles of an unhealthy relationship because at least like, well, you're used to that, you have a tolerance to that.
oh, that's good. Oh, I see that. Okay. Because even though what we can be familiar with is not necessarily a healthy relationship, is right. It's not what we're really striving for, but there is this familiarity because it's been there for so long. It's like it's weird. Like it's not good, but it's kind of like, well, that's all we know.
Hmm.
Okay. Okay. Oh, that's so good. And then when people are not in a relationship like that, I can see they're like, okay, is this boring or what is going on? Because it's a completely different what is it? A different feeling, a different interaction, a different way. It's not that what you're used to with let's say the toxic or the unhealthiness or stuff like that. Oh, so that's even harder sometimes for people?
Yeah.
Wow.
So Richard Schwartz, from the founder of IFS, talks about this, and I love the way he
Mhm.
frames this.
Okay.
um, People use relationships as a proxy to try to redeem the inner child, right? So the inner child is I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter your attachment style. Your inner child is yearning for love, and you'll subconsciously replay the same dynamics, or you'll subconsciously replay the same relational dynamics that you experienced with your parents growing up or witnessed in order to try to redeem that inner child. Because if only you can fix them, if only you can get them to be
Mm,
emotionally present with you, then they can finally experience healing. Then your inner child feels safe and gets what they never had, what they needed now. And so we use relationships to try to provide that.
right.
But it's not our job to try to fix somebody else or pull them closer. Um, and contrarily, that if you are protective and avoidant and push people away, that is also this protective mechanism protecting that inner child, replaying dynamics that you experience because you're
Mm,
giving yourself the opportunity over and over again for that to be different in your inner child to experience what they always needed.
mm. Wow. Oh, that's so good. That's fascinating. Well, let me ask you this because another question just came up then based on what you were just saying. A lot of people then feel stuck in repeating the same relationship patterns, whether they're single or married. What are some of the biggest patterns you see, and how can someone start recognizing them in themselves?
So to clarify, what are some of the biggest patterns of like being stuck?
Yeah, when people feel stuck, when you said they're kind of in that loop of either avoidance or some things, they're noticing when they're in relationships, that's kind of keeps coming up.
Yeah. So there's four key patterns. Let's see if I can remember them.
Okay.
There's the first one is chasing emotionally unavailable people, right?
Oh,
You get stuck in relationships, same sort of relationship cycles, um, because you're chasing someone who can't really meet you.
Do they know that they're chasing the person that can really meet them? Or it's just, again, familiarity?
I'd say most of the time, well, it depends on where they are in their
Okay.
healing trajectory, their healing arc. Some people might have the awareness and like, oh, I'm doing it again, but still feel kind of like beholden to their pattern. Sometimes
Okay.
they're completely like blissfully unaware.
Okay.
Maybe not so blissfully because they're stuck in this really like tormenting cycle.
Okay.
And it's either right, you're chasing someone who's emotionally available out the gates and can never really get in that relationship that feels nurturing and fulfilling, or you finally enter into that relationship with somebody who also isn't really emotionally available, and it takes you some time to kind of discover that or find that out. And then they stay too long, hoping, staying for their potential, hoping that they're going to change, when in reality, you know, they probably aren't. And
Okay.
if they are, like, well, you have to be patient, and it's not your responsibility to bring that about in them. Right.
The person has to do it themselves. Okay, so that was the
Always.
one. You said there was 4. That was
Yeah,
1.
we'll see if I can remember them.
Okay.
So the second is like the grass is always greener. It's the person who's in something good,
Okay.
but they're always like thinking to like what's possible, what they're missing out on, right? The opportunity cost of being in this relationship, because every relationship comes with an opportunity cost. And that person gets addicted to the fantasy of something else, what's on the other side of the fence. And I'll tell you that the grass is greenest where you water it, right? You've heard that before.
So good.
And when you go to the other side of the fence, you're going to find that maybe the grass initially is greener, but like if you weren't watering the grass on the other side, like you don't know how to water grass, and you're going to get to a point where you don't like the grass where you're at anyways.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yep.
I see a lot of people struggling with this, and it can show up as like kind of like relationship anxiety, over like really thinking about, and almost obsessively, compulsively thinking about whether or not they should stay in or leave the relationship. It can, like, the relationship maybe is objectively healthy, but something just feels off.
They can't settle. They can't
Yeah.
settle with. Okay. What is going on when someone finds themselves in that loop?
So this is probably one of the trickiest. It's a little bit, there's multiple angles to address this particular challenge. One is looking at like the health of your nervous system. That's always the foundation.
Okay.
Are you living in a chronically activated or dysregulated state? Because if so, that's going to contribute to obsessive compulsive thinking that will feel completely derailing and unmanageable. So a healthy nervous system is going to help to support a healthier, calmer mind, right?
Okay.
So that's one element.
Okay.
The other thing that I often see is a misalignment with their own core values in some way. The relationship can be objectively healthy, but if your values are misaligned, that's where that dissonance comes into play. And a lot of people don't take the time to actually put their values down on paper and evaluate their life and their habits and find out, what am I doing? What value does this support? And where are the discrepancies? Where am I out of alignment? Misalignment with your own value system is one of like the greatest causes for, I would say, like depression, or just like and I'm not talking clinical depression, right? Like I'm not a licensed therapist. I'm not diagnosing anybody, but for people who just feel like they've lost their purpose, and they're just kind of floating, and they don't know what they want from life. They just feel unfulfilled and unhappy.
Unfulfilled. Okay. It's just kind of like little gray areas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a chemical component to that for sure.
Okay.
But also a lifestyle misalignment. And it might be you're working in a job you just fucking hate, and
Yeah,
you
you're
get
just
up
like, I can't
every day
stand
to
it.
do this,
Okay.
like, and it's just sucking your soul. Okay. It might be a relationship. It might be, habits. Maybe your body is, you're not taking care of your body. You're
Not
not
taking care of
sleeping right.
yourself.
Right. There's lots of different potential sources, but it starts with you getting real with yourself and figuring out, okay, what the hell do I actually value? And am I willing to put my money where my mouth is?
Mm. Travis, can you just because it just came up, you just said something. A lot of Can you just tell the listeners or explain to the listeners real quick when you said a lot of people don't write this down? What can they write down? Like, what
Hmm.
is like a little exercise right now? You mentioned that, and I just it made me. I really want to say, okay, you guys, write this down. Can you let people know if this is resonating with them? Something simple that they can do. They can start writing down. Like you just said something about they don't even know. Can you explain that again to us?
Yeah. So you want to make a list of the thing of what you value, and your values aren't something material. Your values might look something like authenticity,
Mm.
family, relationships, love, kindness,
Honesty,
honesty,
compassion.
compassion. It might be knowledge. It could be
Okay.
wealth.
Wealth. Okay.
A
Yeah.
broad range. Like what do you value? And you have to be honest with yourself.
Okay.
It's not what you think you should value, but what do you actually value?
What
And a lot
do
of
you
times,
value as a
yeah,
human being? Okay. I love that.
and a lot of times this can get intertwined with or muddled by what your parents taught you, what the world
Mm.
has taught you, and some of that's valid and valuable. But this is about really discovering who you are at the core.
Okay.
And so make a list, and it should be probably plus or minus 10 at least, and go through each one and write out. I choose to honor this value by doing, and then list it out by doing X, Y, Z. I
Okay.
choose to honor the relationships in my life by sending a text message every week to a different friend to just express appreciation or
Okay.
gratitude.
Okay.
Be really specific, not
Okay.
vague, but like
Give us
actionable
another one. Give us
specifics.
another one. Yeah. Give us another one. That's
Another
really good.
value.
Yeah. And so they can, and then the
Oh,
second step.
okay. So like I choose to honor like my physical and mental well-being
Okay.
by um, getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep, 5 or 6 nights a week,
Oh, I love this. Okay.
by drinking. There's it's up for
All
debate, but by
kinds.
drinking a certain amount of water, by abstaining from weed, alcohol, drugs, or doing so like really intentionally, by meditating, by going out for a 20-minute walk 3 times a week. Get really specific
Okay.
about the actions you're
So
going to
write
take.
it down and then the action to actually do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this will come
Love
out
that.
as like a declaration.
A declaration. Okay.
And when you've got this, then you make a list. You do a, what do you call it? Like a T, 2 columns. You're making 2 columns, and you've got on the left, you write out your habits.
Okay.
You write down, track what you do in a given day or given week. I watch 2 hours of TV at night. I scroll on my phone. I eat out 3 times a week, but I cook at home 4 times a week or whatever, right?
I drink a bottle of wine a night, whatever you're doing.
Whatever you're doing, you got to be,
Yeah.
you got to be honest. It's an honest
That's good.
inventory. And then on the right, you're going to write down which value of yours that supports, right? Because I guarantee you that drinking a bottle of wine a night supports a value, but does it support it in a way that is conducive to your well-being? Does it support it in a way that is harmonious with your other values?
Mhm.
Right? Drinking a bottle of wine helps, it's a depressant. It helps your nervous system relax. It helps turn the dial down on the stress and the overwhelm of the world. So it makes a lot of sense. Give yourself a lot of compassion. If that's your habit, okay, be honest with yourself. And so identify the value that it supports. And then now you've got a list of your habits and behaviors. You've got a list of the values that they support. And you can then compare this to your values declaration and find out, okay, where are the discrepancies? Which
Okay.
values are not actually being supported through my habits and behaviors?
Okay. That's good.
And now you got to go
Okay.
fucking do it.
Yeah, and you got to do it. Well, that's what I'm happy we kind of clarified this, because that was the second thing that you were talking about. A lot of people don't. What were you saying, that they don't honor their values, and that really starts showing up?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what I said, but yeah, they're
Mhm.
fundamentally misaligned with their value system, and then that
Okay.
leads to a uh, um, unfulfilling,
Mhm.
dissatisfying life where somebody feels like they're lost or lacking purpose.
Or
And a
like we were
lot of
talking
times,
about, they're always constantly thinking of, "Oh, it's gonna be better over there," or maybe
right.
this is
So
not good enough.
this
Mhm.
is the person that struggles with the grass is always greener.
Okay.
Is to help interrupt that obsessive thought pattern is to get really clear on
Pretty
your value
clear.
system, address your body, and make sure that your nervous system generally feels pretty regulated. Um, and you know,
Mhm.
I'll work with people for a long time over this. So it's like, if you're in this situation, I just want you to know, like, you can't rush your clarity. And that's the thing, like, the issue with clarity is it's not cognitive. It's
Okay.
something that's felt.
You feel it.
You
Like, you get
feel
this
it.
feeling like, "Oh, okay, I get it now." Okay.
And like when you feel really clear what you need to do in your life, in your relationship, in the job, and where you live, whatever it is, it's going to be coupled with like a sense of calm, groundedness.
Mm.
You might be scared, but that doesn't mean that you're not calm and can sense that ease, that you know what you need to do.
Mhm.
And it can be tricky to really tune into that little voice and discern it.
And discern. Okay.
Yeah. Um,
That was
so that was two.
those 2. Mhm.
Yeah. The third one is the person who is just fundamentally like fearful of commitment,
Okay.
who can maybe is not necessarily always like thinking the grass is always greener, but the person who can just like not take the next step. They're terrified of stepping all the way in.
Okay.
Um, and that might be putting a label on it, getting out of like the situationship. It might be moving in together, engagement, marriage, meeting the family, because of the meaning that they assign all these things and the responsibility that they're typically taking on. Typically, people who are afraid of commitment are they're taking on too much responsibility for the other person's feelings.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Right? They don't trust themselves to
Okay.
handle the relationship well, to be able to like really build something and to not get cold feet or whatever. So they're like preemptively anticipating that they're going to hurt the other person. And
Mhm.
then when that inevitably happens, they're going to feel so ashamed and so guilty. And so they never want to step all the way in because
Oh
they
my
think,
goodness,
well,
they already, like, from the beginning, self-sabotage themselves. They're like, "Nope." No,
yeah,
no, yeah, okay,
yeah.
wow, okay,
Uh, and oftentimes this person also struggles with grass is greener and like thinking,
okay.
oh, okay, well, maybe the next one, but then they run into the same issues over and over
Same
again.
patterns, yep,
Right? And then the fourth like pattern of being stuck that I see is the person who is just in something that hurts but can't
mm,
leave. Right? Like they're a good person and they're in a bad relationship.
'kay,
Some part of them really knows that they should leave, that they need to leave, and for the life of them, they can't.
okay. What's going on
And
with them? What's going on with the people that are going through that?
yeah, typically this is uh, more characteristic of trauma bonding.
Okay, trauma
Um,
bonding,
Someone who either experienced some trauma together and and bond through that, or someone whose partner perfectly complements their trauma in a way that it brings up those familiar patterns that may be dysfunctional, but are unsafe
mhm,
and also familiar.
and also familiar again. We're going back to that, even though it's not healthy sometimes, it's that familiarity, it's what our nervous systems are used to.
Yeah. And this
Okay.
can also be instances of of abuse too, right? Like
Okay.
if you're with somebody who's has narcissistic personality disorder, someone who's really controlling, physically, emotionally abusive, these relationships tend to erode someone's self-esteem, someone's sense of their own ability and confidence to be able to separate from the relationship. And if they get deep enough into it, they're like financially dependent, and maybe they have kids, they're like their lives are really intertwined, and then the idea of separating just feels impossible.
Mm.
um, and if they're financially dependent on this other person, then that can feel really scary to step away from that. And if it's not physically safe, if somebody's in this situation, in a situation like this, I always say prioritize physical safety. If you know you need to leave, but it seriously doesn't feel physically safe, there are support lines. Like
Thank you,
there are
Travis.
support systems for helping victims of domestic violence and abuse to leave those situations as safely as possible. But oftentimes, just leaving is not necessarily the wisest decision. It's an act of self-preservation to not leave, even though it's so hurtful. So that's the extreme end of things. But then there's
But if
people like
someone
me.
is in a abusive relationship and they're being physically abused, right? Or absolutely emotionally abused,
Right?
you actually have to leave because that is not acceptable. And and I love that you said you can get help. It's not something you have to do alone. You can actually get help for this because I'm saying this right now, ladies, if you are I'm going to cry. If you're in a relationship with a human being that's physically beating you or verbally just, the same, you actually have to get out of that relationship. It's not going to get better. Once someone puts their hands on you or when someone does that, that doesn't get better. That is their character. So you have to leave. So Travis, if they're in that situation, what was that? What did you say that they can call? What's the hotline?
Um, I have to. It's a 1-800 number,
Okay.
and
They could just look this up, right?
yeah, and I can send it
Okay.
to you after, so that if you want, you can put it in like the show notes or
We're going to put
something.
this in the show notes. Travis is going to send that to us, because again, today, that's another extreme. But if that's happening, then me and Travis were like, no, we're not going to. That's something you actually have to physically remove yourself.
Right. Yeah,
Okay.
that's a red flag deal breaker. There's just
Yeah, that's it.
no way around that.
Yeah.
And doing so as safely as possible for yourself and for any potential like children involved is
Yes.
paramount. And there
Yes.
are ways to do that. So I would not encourage trying to do that on your own.
Correct.
Right.
Thank you, Travis. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was so these are the patterns that people can find themselves in based on what you said. That was really good how you explained this. This is wow. This is giving me some clarity. Well, let me ask you this. When someone realizes, I had this question for you. When someone realizes, wow, I've been showing up from fear, anxiety, or self-protection, what are a few practical things that they can start doing right now to shift into a healthier connection? Obviously, first with themselves and then with somebody else.
So fear, anxiety, and self-protection is how
Mm-hmm.
they're showing up in the relationship.
Yes.
The first piece, I always come back. It always comes back to the body,
Okay.
and this is, it's not the sexy advice. It's not a quick fix. It's not going to just immediately. Your anxiety is not going to go away,
Mm.
but how you relate with it will begin to shift.
Okay.
And I always say this, like the foundation, the fundamentals are so important, and nervous system health is relationship skills 101. And if you're showing up from fear, anxiety, and self-protection, well, you need to start becoming more familiar and intimate with your own fear.
Mm.
And you start that through practicing body and breath awareness.
Mm.
Like I said, it's not sexy, but a
Mm-hmm.
practical tool is every day, carve out 5 minutes for yourself
I
to
love
just
that.
sit and notice. Don't use. I would actually say, like, don't use the meditation apps,
Okay.
Calm or whatever they are. Like, if
Yeah.
you want to add that on after the fact, like, go ahead and do that.
Okay.
But sometimes I think that crutch can take away from true presence with what's real for you in that very moment, because these meditations, they're guided, and they don't know what you're going through. They don't
Mm-hmm.
know
Mm-hmm.
how much space you need, or what you need to notice. And if they work for you, it's better than nothing. It can be a great entry point. But if you can, just set a timer for 5 minutes,
Okay.
find a quiet place, turn your phone on, do not disturb, and just close down your eyes. And you can start by noticing your breath, right? Mindfulness breathing. Notice where you feel in your belly, your thoracic cavity, the back of your throat, your nostrils. Pick one of these places and just focus on that, and see how long you can keep your focus on that. And this is about, like, kind of training. This is about training your mind. This can
Mm.
help disrupt obsessive thought patterns and anxiety. Your breath is a remote control for your nervous system, and anxiety is intertwined with your nervous system. Like, it's correlated to an activated, like an aroused state when you're in a fight or flight response, even if you're not in a fight, right? Your
Mm-hmm.
nervous system can still be aroused.
The nervous system. Yes.
And so the more familiar you become with your breath, if you really focus on long exhales, just a general rule of thumb, elongating your exhale relative to your inhale, that will turn the dial down and help you move towards a parasympathetic state, which is a rest and digest, a place of safety in your body. So that's one way to explore this 5-minute self-reflection,
I
is
love that.
focusing on your breath. And then the other is to actually try to not focus on anything. Do
Oh,
less, actually,
I love that.
and just see what happens. See if you can notice your thoughts as separate from you.
Mm.
And if you're consumed on, like, a thought pattern, or you're thinking, you're obsessing about the relationship, do I stay or leave? Like, oh my God, I'm so unhappy. And you go on, you do that for like 4 minutes, and then all of a sudden you realize, oh my gosh, how long have I been thinking about that? As soon as you become aware that you're not aware, you're aware again.
Oh, Mr. Travis. Wow. Say that again.
As soon as you become aware that you're not aware, you're aware again.
I love this.
And that's the practice, is building your awareness of breath and body, because that's the entry, that's the doorway
Okay.
into exploring your fear,
Okay.
exploring the root of the fear that's driving you in your relationships, to start to uh, become more familiar with your own protective parts, to become
Mm.
more familiar with your inner child. And there's guided meditations for that. There's therapists, there's coaches that can help you dive much deeper into that. But that is like the fundamentals.
That's beautiful you're saying this, because for the listeners that are listening right now, and I truly believe this with all my heart, they truly come and listen to this podcast because first and foremost, they believe in great love. They believe in growth. They have for sure a growth mindset. So they're willing, the listeners that are here, they're here. Yes, of course, they want to be entertained and, hear a great conversation and story, but they love the takeaway. And they want to be able to also grow and transform and create, ultimately, um, a relationship that they do feel aligned with themselves, healthy with themselves, and also healthy with a significant other. So I have, as I mentioned to you, our audience, the listeners are either single people already, single ladies for the most part, or already married, women that are in relationships. So they get the value either way. But overall, we're all humans, and this affects us. This affects everyone, when it comes to the matters of the heart, when it comes to ourselves. So I really appreciate, honestly, this conversation because it really gives some clarity to some things that maybe people have been thinking, God, what's wrong with me? Is this just me? Like, what is going on? And I think the way that you're explaining things today really helps people, like I said, have some clarity. Like, oh, okay, I'm starting to see things a little differently. I know this is your world. This is my world. This is what we do all the time. But truly, from the bottom of my heart, for people that are listening to this today, this is new. They're like, what is going on? This is, to me, I feel personally, it's very liberating, right? It's giving people an opportunity to realize that you're not stuck, that things can change. You can, even if you grew up and these have been your patterns and stuff, if you are willing to recognize, if you're willing to do this work, if you're willing to, like, literally what Travis just said, I know it sounds simple, but it's actually really powerful what you just said, because it's really noisy in the world. And we are all, for the most part, I'm just speaking for the majority, but we're all so fast paced and there's a lot of. So when you just told people, just take a moment to slow down, to breathe, to just sit with yourself and give yourself that space. That was awesome, my friend. That was awesome.
I'm glad. I hope someone takes that away, and maybe today or tomorrow after listening to it, they set that timer for 5 minutes, and it doesn't have to be that long. It doesn't have to be this big 30-minute thing or anything like that. But this is how you start getting ahead of your patterns. This is how you start, knowing yourself deeper so that you can communicate more effectively, so that you can be more vulnerable with your partner, so that you have you have the tools to begin expanding your window of tolerance to discomfort, so that you can be more present with your partner when inevitable difficulties come up. And it starts here with these simple little 5 minutes of slowing down and tuning in.
And tuning in. Well, this kind of goes with like a tool. So I have a question here. It says, for someone who wants a deep, secure, lasting relationship, whether they're dating or already married, what does doing the inner work actually look like in their daily life? Because you hear about the inner work, and I know that you're kind of explaining it, just that's one little part of it. But what does that look like in their daily life if that's what they are truly striving for?
That's a really great question, actually. And it challenges me to distill this down into something really practical, because oftentimes the inner work feels so kind of like nebulous and like, what the hell does that actually mean?
What do you mean, Travis? What do you mean? What's the inner work? Yeah, what's the work? Yeah, a lot of people always wonder, like, what are you guys talking about? What's the work?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's the subconscious element, like there's the mind and body.
Okay.
And there's the strategy, the practical elements. There's it's the journaling. It's actually distilling your values, distilling your vision, learning how to communicate. And people say, learn to communicate. And that can also be pretty vague, but there are really wonderful frameworks out there. One of the most life-changing books I've ever read is called Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg.
Can you say the name of the book again?
Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg. And this is the framework that I use with clients. It's an incredibly simple framework, but very difficult to master. Oftentimes the most simple ideas are. And so that's the practical, that's the strategic side of earning secure attachment. Being consistent with your presence, the presence that you offer the people in your life. And if you're not in a relationship, you can still practice this, right? If somebody texts you or calls you and you're not available, or you can't talk, don't just ghost them or leave them on read. Actually respond and just say, hey, got your message, can't talk right now, or I'll call you back later. You don't have to explain anything. You don't have to address all of it, but that's consistency with presence, which is great, particularly for people who are on the avoidant end of the spectrum and just can feel overwhelmed and not want to respond. The people who maybe tend to outsource regulation and just want to talk and talk about all the things that they're feeling and thinking and going through to help process through other people. The work for them is to okay, maybe I pause and increase the time between the reaction of wanting to call and my response of actually reaching out to somebody, and let me sit in that on my own for a little bit and, do some of this breathing and tune inward. And maybe I
Yes.
write in my journal for a little bit. On a practical level, those are those are just a couple examples. On like a intrapersonal level, with yourself,
Yes.
it's about giving yourself a whole lot of grace. Truly, not feeling the need to always be doing something or growing or bettering yourself in order to somehow be worthy of love.
Mm, mm,
And noticing, oh man, I work a lot, or I'm addicted to, maybe I smoke a lot of weed. That
mhm,
was me, right?
mhm.
Or I spend a ton of time at the gym, or I'm terrified of being alone. And starting to notice these patterns that show up in your life, and actually coming to terms with them first and foremost, like
Mm.
practicing acceptance for these aspects of yourself, because a lot of people come at growth like feeling like they're fundamentally broken or flawed, or like they need to change something about themselves in order to have the relationship, what have you. Yeah, they keep doing that, but the the paradox of the paradox of growth is that it starts with acceptance.
I love that. Yes.
Acceptance is the ultimate form of growth mindset,
Mhm.
because when you accept yourself, it conveys to your subconscious world, it conveys to your nervous system that you're actually okay. Nothing actually needs to change. Like right here, outside of the stories of the mind that your mind fabricates, you're okay right now. And
Mm.
when your body feels that, there's an ease, there's an absence of tension that it just melts away. And it's that safety that creates the most fertile conditions for the change that you then actually want to
And
create.
you yes.
The most
So
wonderful
good.
things are created from a place of ease and
Mm,
awe and
mm.
curiosity. And those qualities are really hard to access if you are harshly critical of yourself, if you're always grinding, if you feel like you always need to get there. Once I get there, once I do the thing, then I'll be happy. Then I get to have the relationship. Then I'll take a break. But that goalpost just keeps moving as your mind and body just gets more and more tired. So if you really want to change, if you really want to earn secure attachment and have a healthy, fulfilling relationship that feels really safe, start by noticing your patterns
Okay.
and seeing if you can meet yourself with a whole lot of love and grace, recognizing
Mm.
that they want really good things for you.
Yes. You know what's so beautiful about this too conversation, and I know, you know what? I, how do I always say this, you guys? Honestly, like something's up. I have to go longer. I always say this. How does the time go so fast? Mr. Travis was like, okay, I have a kind of a hard stop, and this is me. Don't worry, Travis. I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna keep you on time. And now I'm like, Travis, I'm not even close to being done, but I promise I won't keep you too much longer. Travis, two more things. I know. Okay, first of all, thank you for this. I have three more things, and then I'm going to get you off. I know. I promise I'm not going to keep you waiting too long. Okay. First of all, thank you for that. That was so real and so practical and healing.
Hmm.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Second of all, um, what we didn't really get into yet, but we're not going to, I'll have to bring Travis back, I think, because, it's a whole thing. What I love about this and why I created the show is because I want everyone to hear me loud and clear. Is that wherever you're at, you know what I mean? Wherever you're at in life. And like you said, accepting, not accepting, avoidant, not, whatever that is. Start there and listen to what he just said. Give yourself that grace, give yourself that space, give yourself that time. Start there. Second, I always say this too. Listen to these podcasts and work with someone. If you want to go deeper, you want to, really what I say, get under the hood, and go deeper. Cause that's when you actually should gift yourself and work with someone, because that's when things can really shift. I mean, honestly, okay. This work is so important also to do it with a professional, because they can ask you the questions and go through the things that you're not going to be aware of yourself. Okay. Just like we're learning something today with this conversation. But ultimately, Mr. Travis already explained to us when we started this show, as I asked him, I said, how did he grow up? And the reason why I did that, and I didn't know anything about his childhood, but the reason why I did that, because I knew this was going to be very powerful to understand, regardless of what we have gone through. And I am so sorry for so many of us, I know there's a lot of us that, we went through literally hell and back, and we were victimized, and it was bad, but it doesn't mean it needs to stay that way or you're stuck. And it needs to be recognized, and it needs to be able to heal from that so you can move forward. Okay. But what I love, and I got to just put a little plug here, is Mr. Travis, when I had a pre-call with him, because I always have pre-calls with my guest, he also explained to me that, the romantic relationship that he had in the past were not healthy, he struggled, we're toxic, you guys. We're like, he truly believed at one point, he's like, oh, this is bad. Like, this is it. I'm doomed, this is bad. But then this is why he does this work, because he himself applied what he teaches now. And he was able to, and you heard his childhood, you heard all the stuff that he was explaining. He was very real and authentic, but he was also able to now have himself the most nicest, coolest, healthiest relationship. Are you kidding me, Travis? Talk about your relationship now. Like, seriously. I mean, because you're talking to us about, the attachments. And I know that you had, these attachment styles, and now you're more in a secure attachment style. But I want you to tell people, Mr. Travis, what is honestly possible for all of us.
Thanks for asking that too, to end on a high note. I wouldn't have imagined I'd be where I am 5 years ago.
Okay.
I was in a dark place, and yes, like you said, I put all this stuff into practice, and that's why it's so near and dear to my heart. That's why I care a lot, and I'm passionate about it. I want to help other people experience similar transformations within themselves. But now I'm going on a 3-year relationship. We've been engaged for about 6 months.
Yes.
And
congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. I didn't think that would ever be possible for me, to be honest. I didn't think that I could feel all in with somebody. Talk about those 4 patterns of being stuck.
Yep.
I've been in all of them. And, that last relationship was particularly fear of commitment, grass is greener, and staying in something that hurts. And so I thought I could never feel confident in love with both feet in, whereas, the amount of freedom and energy that's opened up when I have just committed is astounding. And, our relationship's not perfect. I also want to emphasize that, despite all this, we have our own challenges, but we bought a house recently. We're doing a bunch of changes, and and we're really learning all the different ways that
all the moving parts.
And how we make decisions, how we think, how we communicate. And so I would say a relationship's been pretty stress tested recently, mm-hmm. and I'm happy to say we're passing the test. And I also had no doubt that we would pass these stress tests.
Yes.
Which is why I felt so confident. And it was funny, when this relationship started, we were on a second date snowboarding, and on the ski lift, I asked her about our vision, right?
Yeah.
A lot of these things that I'm saying to do with yourself, it's just bring these questions up. Early on in dating somebody, find out what their values are. And I asked her, what she was hoping for in the next 5 years, and she says, she says a bunch of wonderful things, but one of the things she says is, I hope to fall in love again. And I just remember thinking like, good luck with that. It's not going to be me. And
You thought that at that moment. That was your,
yeah, even in this relationship, even after all the healing I'd done, I still had avoidant patterns rising
Yeah.
to the surface as this relationship started.
Yeah.
And this has been so profoundly healing because of how receptive she's been, because I've been really transparent and
I
communicative,
love
and
it.
and she was really secure and grounded in herself and able to hold all of that, hold all the nuance, hold some of the, uncomfortable uncertainty at times.
Yes.
And it's that safety of like, hey, I want to be with you, but I also don't need you. My
Yes.
happiness isn't contingent upon you.
Yes. I want to. Yes. I want to.
Yeah.
I love this.
So we have a really healthy interdependent relationship now, um, that is perfectly imperfect and who I can't wait to spend the rest of my life with.
I tell you guys, this is real. This is why I love these conversations and this work because it's real. This is not foo-foo. This is real life. This is real people. And this is what I'm talking about. I mean, this is seriously, I'm not kidding you, Travis. I wish I could give you a big hug, but I'm not kidding you. This is why I do what I do. And I'm passionate. And I bring people like Travis on because of this. I mean, think about it. He's a relationship coach helping people like this. And I'm telling you, if you'd ask him, Travis, would you think back in the day you'd be doing this? He'd be like, no way. I mean, seriously. So it is 100% possible. Travis, seriously, how do they get in your world? Where should they find you? Where can they work with you? If this is really, resonating with them and they're like, okay, Travis, I got a lot. I got a lot here. You know what I mean? I do want to have a relationship that you finally have with the lady that you're with. And of course, remember Travis said before he can do that, he went inwards first. Okay. He had to do a lot of this inward. He had to feel different about himself. And this is one thing I want to say this before I have Travis tell us where we can reach him at. This is the beauty of this. Okay. Because it really comes down to you do take two imperfect people, you come together and you give each other's opportunity with grace and love to heal and to grow, because that's where the work really starts too, when you're in the actual relationship, because that's where it all starts showing up. You're like, oh, okay. So, but that's the opportunity that we can have, so give yourself grace, give your partner grace, give your partner love, encouragement. When no one's perfect, you're not going to be getting into a relationship and everything's going to be, perfect. No. Don't even let that go. But what's cool is you're in a relationship that has room for that, because healing and growing is forever. It keeps going. How do we get in your world, Mr. Travis? Seriously,
Yeah.
you're awesome.
Instagram is probably, Instagram's a great place. I'm really focused on building out my YouTube community
Okay.
for exploring nuance. If you really like vibed and resonated with the kind of the frameworks I've been talking about and you want structured support with that, I've got a course called Relational Alchemy that will guide you through it step by step. I'm often taking on new clients. So if you're interested in that, you can schedule like a fit call with me and we'll just have a conversation. And if you're stuck, if you're in a relationship that you're ambivalent and you're not sure, do I stay? Do I leave? I know how agonizing that is and how isolating and alone you might feel. Whether you're avoidant or anxious, it doesn't matter. I have a diagnostic. It is paid, but I have a diagnostic that's a 50 question questionnaire that I strongly encourage getting like the complete thing. It's called Embodied Clarity. And there's intensive journal prompts to help you dig into your own inner truth. There's guided meditations to help you tune into your inner wisdom, and 52 question diagnostic that will objectively assess the health of your relationship. So you can find out if you should stay or leave, or if it's possible to stay, then what you need to work on.
Okay.
So wherever you're at, I've got something for you to kind of like dip your toes in and find support. You're not alone.
You're not alone. I love that. Travis, is there anything that you would like to share before I have to let you go that maybe we didn't talk about, or just what you want to leave the Love Stories community with? We have this Love Stories family. I'm not kidding you. It's amazing. Anything else that you want to say before I have to let you go?
You know, I'm a big fan of Ram Dass, and one of my favorite quotes of his is, "Everything on your plate is part of your curriculum to awaken and become free." So you're exactly where you need to be right now.
Mhm.
Just trust the process.
I love that. Trust the process, you guys. You're exactly where you need to be right now. Wow. Thank you, Travis. Seriously, thank you. Thank you for this conversation. Thank you for your authenticity. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your heart. Thank you.
Thank you,
And
Charlene.
thank you. And to next time, cheers to great love. If you're loving this podcast and these incredible conversations, please hit the subscribe button and leave a 5-star review. Don't miss an episode, because each week I'll be bringing on guests and experts who will share their knowledge about love, dating, and relationships so you can apply it into your own life. I'll see you next week. And until then, cheers to great love.